The Mokwheel Scoria here is easy to ride, easy to maneuver, and offers a lot of fun to whoever is at its controls. Not only is it fun to ride, but it has unique features that enable it to do a lot that similar e-bikes can't do. I'm Forrest Woolman, e-bike analyst and reviewer here at the Electric Bike Report. Let me walk you through all that sets the Scoria apart from other e-bikes. Now before we dive into the video, I'd really appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button and notification bell. It helps support our channel, allowing us to bring in more bikes for testing and reviewing. Plus it ensures you won't miss any future e-bike content that we post. Thanks a bunch. Now let's get started. There are over half a dozen different styles of e-bikes available today, and one of my favorites is right here, the moped style that you see, the Mokwheel Scoria. Featuring a frame that's friendly to shorter riders, as well as 6 foot tall guy like me, almost anyone can hop on this bike and ride and have a good time. So quickly, let's run through a few things that really stood out to me as we tested over 130 miles on this bike. First of all, the motor takes off really well with great acceleration and power from the lowest to the highest levels of pedal assist. It has no trouble getting a big guy like me around. And this bike's power band is well balanced, so you can cruise it at mellow speeds too, like at the beach or on the boulevard for the serious ride across town. Best of all, the Scoria is a cool looking bike and will make any rider look good. It's not generic and it has a lot going for it. Unique paint color, the mag rims, and overall shape of the frame, including the forks, rack, and seat. Altogether, this bike looks more cleaned up than a lot of the other ones out there. Now this battery is a bit bigger than what you find especially on a moped style. It's a massive 19.4 amp hour battery, which Mokwheel says can take this bike up to 60 miles on a single charge. In a few minutes, I'll give you the details of what our range test said. So anyways, there's a super unique feature that Mokwheel offers also. It's an optional solar panel and inverter. So if you want to take this thing camping, you can recharge your battery and use the inverter to power your smartphone and a host of other electronic gadgets. This means you're only limited by basically how much food and water you bring. You can power your blender, your coffee pot, and more. Incredible, huh? Just think about everywhere you could go and you could do it on this bike. The BMX style riser handlebars combined with the front 110 millimeter suspension forks and the 20-inch fat tires make this bike so easy to control. If you haven't been on a bike for a while, no worries. The Scoria is rider friendly. This bike is easy to get the hang of, and you'll likely fall in love with this bike after the first couple of rides. I know I sure did. I think this can really help with your confidence too if you're new or just getting back into riding. Now this bike uses a torque sensor. It's very responsive. If you start pedaling harder, the bike will respond with more power output from the motor. It's great for increasing your speed or helping up on hills. As an added bonus, it also helps manage energy conservation in the battery too. For us, these were some of the things that really stood out about the Scoria compared to the other moped style e-bikes. Let's take a closer look though at the key specs on this bike so you can have a better idea of all the features on this Scoria. So let's talk about some of the other important specs of the Scoria. But for technical nerds like me that want all the details, just know that the link to the EBR website in the video description will list all the details if we don't cover them here in the video. Now this Scoria uses a 5-mode pedal assist system that can take riders up to 28 miles per hour, throttle too. It uses the 20 amp controller to communicate between the 750 watt motor, the battery, and the torque sensor. Now the torque sensor, it's great. It balances the motor's power output, giving a good overall riding experience, and it helps conserve battery power. The display screen that details your ride's features, it's a color LED integrated unit which reports your riding speed, your available battery power, trip and total miles, and your PAS level setting. The settings adjustments are made using the 4-button panel, that's right here, that's mounted on the left side of the handlebar. You can change the settings on your pedal assist system as well as track the details of your ride through this. I really like the brakes stopping power too. Using Tektro HD E350 hydraulic disc brakes with 180mm rotors and dual piston calipers, these Tektro brakes are pretty popular now too, and they're on a lot of e-bikes, which is a good case because if you're trying to find a good bike mechanic to service these brakes, you can find them. The gearing uses the Shimano 7-speed with rapid-fire trigger shifters, and the gearing is pretty nice for cruising or for slightly faster speeds up to about 20 miles per hour. Now beyond that point, you have to pedal a little bit faster to get the motor to kick in to help achieve higher speeds up to 28 miles per hour, or you could just use the throttle. There might be a way to make that easier on riders with a different gear ratio, and maybe Mokwheel might take a look at this down the road. The saddle for the Mokwheel is a super sport seat and was super comfy the whole time I rode on it, which was a little more than 50 miles of our team's collective 130-mile ride. Adding a nostalgic flavor is the classic motorcycle style center stand. You don't see them a lot on other bikes. It makes it a lot easier to mount things on the rear rack, and it makes tire swaps and fixing flats a lot easier than with a standard kickstand. Now Mokwheel said the Scoria can handle a total weight capacity of 400 pounds, that's including rider and cargo, and that this bike weighs 79 pounds. Also, this bike is sized for riders anywhere from 4'8" to 6'1", and they should be able to ride it with no problem. Again, any other specs or details I didn't cover, those can be found in our full write-up on this bike from the link in the video description below. But now you're probably wondering how all this translates when it comes to performance. We'll go over that next. Now, I really like the stopping power of these brakes. Overall, they were reliable and they were consistent. And for an aggressive rider like me, I felt I could ride how I wanted to, knowing this bike would be able to stop me. When we did our official test of the brakes, the Scoria performed well with an average stopping distance of 22 feet 8 inches, and that's from a 20-mile-per-hour stop. That's a little better than average for this kind of e-bike, and we were definitely satisfied with this result. Now the Tektro brakes here, they're very common on e-bikes. They are trusted by a lot of manufacturers, and for good reason, as they are pretty reliable. Also, since they are so widely used, you can find parts easily or get them serviced just about anywhere. Now, I liked it how these brakes grabbed really well, even when I was in sections when I had to use the brakes a lot. And when I had to constantly feather the brakes for a long time downhill, these brakes didn't flinch, giving me consistent, reliable stopping power. Whether we were riding downhill on city streets, local bike paths, or fire roads, the brakes stopped all of our test riders safely, ride after ride, and they should do that for you too. Overall, the Mokwheel Scoria performed well on our circuit test. This is a test where we're trying to get a sense of the speed on this bike. Now, the chart on the screen lists the bike's average speed using each of the pedal assist levels on each lap. Switching from no motor to PAS1, the Scoria really came alive and rolled us happily down the street. We liked the cruising speed in PAS1, and that prompted us to use that PAS mode for our long distance range test, which I'll cover in a minute. We'd rather see a straight slanted line on this chart though. That type of line means the bike's speed progresses in a more balanced manner. Not only does that look better on the screen, but you can really notice the changes when riding. For example, in PAS 2, 3, and 4, the average top speeds were a little too close to each other. We feel these speed averages could have been spaced apart a little more. After all, there was room to spare for that because when clicking from PAS 4 to PAS 5, this bike bolted ahead, averaging 2.4 miles per hour faster than when it was in PAS 4. Now, while some tuning adjustments could help, this bike's still going to provide a good ride for you or any other e-biker. This Scoria definitely satisfied our expectations when we did the range test. We do 2 range tests to see how far this bike can go using minimum motor power and using maximum motor power. Riding this bike and using minimum power, riding in PAS1 the whole time, this bike went 65 miles and an average speed of 12.4 miles per hour. We were stoked to see that result because it was within the range that Mokwheel said this bike is supposed to go on a single battery charge. Now, riding and using maximum motor power in PAS5 the whole time, This battery had enough juice to take me 31.6 miles at an average speed of 20.9 miles per hour. That's one of the faster average speeds we've seen with moped-style e-bikes like the Scoria. The key takeaway from both range tests was that the advanced battery management system on this bike, it continually monitors the battery's charge level, makes adjustments to motor power, and it does this in order to help the bike travel further. Now, the battery management system, known as BMS, also maintains each battery cell intelligently by preventing the battery from overcharging and over discharging. This helps the battery supply more power to take you further, and it also extends the life of the battery. Now, kudos to the Scoria for its stellar performance on our hill climbing test. To test the raw power of what the motor can do, we took this bike up our steep test hill on throttle power and pedal assisted power. This bike aced both tests. In the throttle only hill test, this Mokwheel bolted up the hill with one of the faster times we've seen for a moped style e-bike, reaching the top in 1 minute and 20 seconds and an average speed of 13.6 miles per hour. In the same hill test using PAS 5 and doing basic pedaling, it raced to the top in 1 minute and 10 seconds with an average speed of 15.5 miles per hour. Whew! Way to go, Scoria! The hill test is really a test of extremes, and some really good e-bikes don't do so well in this test. But knowing that the Scoria really smoked this test means you can have added confidence in its ability to take you where you need to go. The big picture with the Scoria is that you get an e-bike that's easy for almost anyone to hop on and have fun. This bike has some great components to further that, like the 750 watt motor. It gets you to the top of some challenging hills. A 19.4 amp hour battery that holds enough juice to take you at least 60 miles. Fat tires that give you great control. Nice suspension for absorbing the bumps. And a rear rack that enables you to carry lots of goodies to wherever you want to take this bike. We also like how this bike is designed to use the optional 1000 watt inverter, which comes with its own neat carrying case attached to the seat post tube. This inverter takes power from your battery and can charge a wide array of electronic devices like your smartphone, laptop, computer, and it can even power some fun camping stuff like a coffee maker and blender. You can also get a portable solar charging panel to recharge your battery, meaning you could ride this on a camping trip and still have some modern comforts too. That's really cool. More importantly, if you've been away from bikes for a while, or if you're new to riding, this bike is user-friendly, which means you can be more confident when you get on this thing and ride, as well as comfortable. Something we would like to see Mokwheel improve for this bike is how it ghost pedals at those speeds higher than 20 miles per hour. Possibly switching to something like a 1128 cassette will improve that. But other than that, this is a solid e-bike with a lot of potential to give you a good ride and fun times wherever you go. So that's it with our review of the Mokwheel Scoria. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, then please click like. And if you're not currently a subscriber to our channel, please subscribe. It really helps us get the word out to others about e-bikes. So links for the current pricing to our in-depth written review, those can be found in the video description. It has details I mentioned today, plus a lot of other important stuff that you probably might want to see. Now, if you have any questions, leave us comments in the video below. So that's it for now. I'm Forrest Woolman with the Electric Bike Report. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you possibly out there on the bike trails someday. And please remember, keep your hands on the bar, your feet on the pedals, and your eyes on the road. And I look forward to seeing you next time here on the Electric Bike Report channel.